What's going down? Nvidia has dropped a new update finally. It's been literally almost about a month, give or take, since they released their stuff. CES was the last update that we got, and it wasn't that bad of an update for the 441 series that they got and the 0.87 where we got a lot more cooler things that were installed, which personally myself I started noticing a little bit of performance points. I even redid my thermal paste, still saw the same things, and I tested a liquid metal on my card too, so look forward to that project for most people that follow my channel, or if you're new and you're interested to see if a 2080 Ti, if there is beneficial points. I'll get into those fun facts then. But today what we're going to cover is the patch news as well as news around the world. And if you're here today with me, Mac, and we're going to go ahead and get to the news, today is going to be the update of Nvidia and their 442.19. First off the bat, if you want, I have the links to both the patch notes to the Reddits that we're going to go over for as far as the discussions, as well as the technical portions if you want to see everything that all their technicians go into. That is one of the things that you get with Nvidia products, is it is pretty much just bulletproof when it comes down to them showing you what they're doing. They have a great software staff. Their drivers very seldomly crap apart, but they do. But they're really swift to fix them in that situation. That's the one thing I feel like AMD really needs to dial in. They need to dial in more stability and just more stability. That's one thing Nvidia definitely has to be kings of, as well as performance in certain attributes. But we'll see. At the end of this year, there could be some Navi units flying out before Ampere makes its appearance. But 75%, I'm hearing news. 75% what I'm hearing for the Ampere. So I don't know. Maybe AMD will be a little too short for the show in that situation. But let's go ahead and get to the direct news, shall we? So first off the bat, they already introduced to it being a ton of fixes for as far as the maximum frame rate range going inside the VRSS that can be actively global. And I can confirm that the score testings were very good when it came down to actually delivering the news that we wanted to see inside of FPS improvements. In fact, there was only one test that faltered, but that was very vanilla, and I'll get into that later as we go over benchmarks to the tail end of the episode. Going into the game ready driver and what this is going to have with the new 442.19 in the profile is a lot of bug fixes for the army in the Dead Wars 4, as well as AMD had that portion for as far as fixing the optimization on top of there, but it also provides the optimal support for Apex Legends in Season 4 for the Metro Exodus and Sam's Story. So there's 3 games that are optimized inside of the situation. The Studio Driver application provides the optimal portion for as far as the bug fixes in this application, which they're redshifting blenders, so that means there may be something very new for as far as the introduction of a brand new Studio Driver, so I might just do a Studio Driver one too, since I do a lot of studio work too here and there. That would be great to get another one installed where I can switch, because one of the things that I do love about Nvidia is when you toggle theirs, if you can kind of see where I'm at right here, if I had the other driver installed, I could very easily just go from game ready to Studio Driver instantly, and then it shows me right here. So yeah, there's like 2 different versions of this now, and I have the old one installed right there, so that's going to be a fun one. We'll definitely get into that new for as far as like studio work. I'll have to make a second episode later on, maybe tomorrow. I'll start doing some testing portions to see what would have to be that, but then I gotta actually, you know what, it'll come in the future. Definitely, but I'll definitely have to do some more testing to see exactly how I'll be able to maximize those frame rateable points. This was really cool. As we kind of zoom in and see what's going down for as far as the web, they took a lot of fan feedback and they had the introduction of the Nvidia control panel, and now allowing gamers to set the maximum frame rate from the 3D application and or the game render, since it has there, and the highest portion is going to be 1000, the lowest being the 20. The VRSS makes the list, as well as the fix in the enable global tab, automatically activating in supported games. Not listed in the release notes inside of the driver articles inside that situation that we might go into a little bit later. You can directly click that link down below for as far as the information to further your education. Now, as far as the G-Sync that comes inside of there for as far as the optimization of the Asus VG259QM, as well as the Dell AW2521HF, the LG 2 situationable points used to be, now is slimmed down to 1, where they have just the 34GN8500 series for as far as them being able to add more to the G-Sync compatibility. studio driver applications inside of the Adobe beta variants, as well as the stars that will be in the CCM Plus apps, as well as the VR apps. The red adds the VR red go.execute in the profile, as well as the Moto update inside of the enable portion, which you will get the Lux mode as the portion of which you can get down to the undry mode as well, and the threaded optimization, which would hopefully be utilizing some of more maybe the computing processing to give you a little bit more edge inside of those studio application features, which is really cool. So that's another update in its own for as far as that, because what I tested today was the game ready driver. So that's what we're going to see in FPS improvements for, or maybe not for one, that you will see, but we'll get towards the end, so stay tuned. Now, the game ready driver fixes a lot, Witcher 3 making the list for as far as the crashes that it used to have for seeing specific cutscenes, as well as Maxwell GPUs in the OpenCL, and the drivers TDR occurrence in the Maxwell GPUs utilizing the OpenCL. So now that should hopefully be something that you don't have to tinker with, or almost try to pull your hair out with, as you're not getting anywhere with the Maxwell, because Maxwell's got a lot of breathing room. If you watch Jay's 2 cent, you'll know for sure that's where you got it starting from. But the stream of the gameplay utilizes the OBS and the random stop. So now they're getting a little bit better for as far as the situation in the variants and Modern Warfare, and if you're a streamer, which you probably are, utilizing that would be horrible. You don't want that. On top of the battle eye, low latency, the launching in the battle eye, the lowest latency in the ultra setting caused the DWM to reset. So that should hopefully be dialed in now. And if some of these that I'm listing down below have not been fixed, definitely drop a comment down below. I'd like to hear what you have to say for the community of technology out there and what this is supplying to you. So good numbers may not always compute to stability for everyone on all cards. Drop a comment down below of what GPU you have and what afflicted issue you're affected by. Moving on past that, the SLI plus G-Sync shutter, which I'm very curious how many people are utilizing this, and that's probably why they took a long time to get to this, because SLI is kind of dead, but for most enthusiasts, it isn't. Utilizing the may experience the minor shutters when using the Nvidia SLI combination with G-Sync in that code. More likely that's probably people playing Control, trying to control their way up to 60 FPS. And then the Doom 2016 may crash when launched in the GeForce 700 and 600 series, the Kepler GPUs. Now should hopefully be fixed. The memory leaks and occurrences between that and the NVIC, as well as the situation going into multiple applications, the stutter drops, as well as the occurrence in during gameplay in the SLI-G enabled portions. Now looking at the studio driver and fixes and what they have instead there, DaVinci Resolve, shared memories in the non-displayed GPU, not fleshing when resolved the projects and multiple items, which I've had very experienced issues with, where I've had to tune down filters in order for it to just work. And it would just like not. But anyways, red also makes the list for that shifting point in the CUDA core memory leaks, as well as the CM memory host and the ALCO, the /CM mem free. As to the occurrence, therefore, more of the one devices in the context in the application. The OTEX 6 is this artifacts appearing HDR modes when tilting in effects. The list again goes to the demand load and the artifacts appearing when non-squares and non-MIP maps textures. That's what you not want to see. Now, ray tracing finally making the VR interception of the artifacts appearing within the situation of the 2D displayment is enabled in the screens, as well as the Quadro cards in the RTX series and the OpenGL. Imaging as far as the copy does not work when between the different GPUs. Now should hopefully be fixed. And then you have Maya, where as far as the program locking up during the C-Flush, calls for the OpenCL and the OpenGL for the portion of the error code. Then Moto also making the list for its crashes inside of the monitors are connecting in the separate GPUs and dual GPU setups. And this is where I mean where the enthusiasts, people that are leading the market, where they're creating stuff where they're having multiple graphics cards to make these really cool looking things. So it's like those are the people that are really critiquing too. So it's really nice to see why they actually had SLI inside of this, because it's a huge update. On top of the game ready driver improvements, on top of the game support improvements, on top of the studio driver improvements, now we have inside of the game driver improvements in the open issues for as far as Windows. Windows only inside of Mortal Kombat, the game randomly crashes with inside the situation of errors. Now this is an open issue, so these are things that are still actually openly happening. Now where they actually have the open issues where they have hopefully fixed inside the situation some of the stuff for Dead War, but they're being up front where the alias and the freestyle tabs are unselected. Within the Windows 10 only, also the Dead Wars for the Vulcan, for as far as HDR, corrupt flicking occurs in the game where the HDR is enabled. To work around, just either disable HDR or utilize DirectX 12 mode, which you're probably going to want to get so you can get a little bit better colors with your 4K, hopefully, or HDR, whatever you want to make look better for 1080p or pixels for pixels. Inside the Tam Clancy's for as far as Rainbow Six Siege, you can see the Vulkan application in the G-Sync when playing the game Vulkan mode, the G-Sync enabling flickers between screens in the full Windows mode. So to work around, go around to the G-Sync and utilizing the API to other than Vulkan. Inside of Windows 7 making the list, the World of Warcraft, the Battle of DirectX 12. You can look inside the game crashes when switched between the DirectX 12 and 11. Try not to switch those two because those softwares just don't mix. Other important issues, specifically now dialing in for the studio drivers inside of Windows 10 only in the application for as far as the Alchemist. You look inside the crashes when either charging the display resolutions or switching between another display resolution. So anything workaround for as far as that, the resolution, disconnect it in the open an application and then probably reconnect it. Both of the sources are down below, and I'll have the direct link for as far as Nvidia where you can directly connect right over here, and you can very easily get to the links. Just enter in your graphics card, enter in either studio or game ready driver, and you're going to be ready to go for the brand new 442.19, sharing both studio and game ready driver in a synchronization to its fullest now. That out of the way, let's go ahead and get you some benchmarks, shall we? I think that's going to be the fun part of this. Should you update? Yeah. Little spoiler for the end of the episode. You totally should. Fire it up, start downloading it right now. You're going to like it. So remember the movie, Good, Bad, and the Ugly? So let's go ahead and start with the good. The good is right here. This is your basic DirectX 11. Now, this was the one that actually didn't do too well, but you're like, damn, dude, that's a pretty good graphics score, but that's overclocked with a brand new update. That's the 442.19. Great overclocking over room, and it works very stably. That's why I like it a lot. While we say goodbye to that score and move into what the base is, well, let's go ahead and take a look at last week's, where we look at the portion of no updates and the weeks prior to that. But when we used to have the 441.87, this is what it used to look like when it just no overclocking, just the card doing its thing, default, auto, everything. Pretty much it's just operating like it should, like someone just plug and played a card. Looking at the brand new update, you see that there is a reduction, but I'm not gonna say that that's a bad thing. One of the things that I've always noticed about Firestrike is it's vanilla. It can go either or, just because it's such a huge amount of points that 100 isn't too much, especially with today's updates where they're putting security defenses inside of there, then trying to improve performance and then make sure the optimization for GPUs works inside there. Not too bad. So let's get to the situation of looking at awesomeness, right? Because we've already gone through the good, bad, the ugly. Good overclocking. It has a variable portion of like the bad, but the ugly was that yesterday's was a little better in Firestrike technically, but it's well-rounded as we look at towards the more overclocking portions of Extreme. Looking at yesterday's, we can see that there's a pretty decent, where we have the 441.87, but as the improvement goes with the brand new update, solidness, that is a huge, great improvement. I mean, seriously. And I was running it hot, like I went through the liquid metaling point, I got everything dialed back in with just like regular thermal paste, and it was beautiful. And unfortunately, my RTX card, little spoiler for the episode when I release it, it needs a bigger heat distribution in order to play a little bit more with an overclocking room that I want from it. But moving on past that, as we go into results, that we can see that there are improvements for the Extreme. But what about the Ultra? With 4K being the representation of 4K all the way up to the max with the Ultra, we have some improvements. and very big improvements of 4K. Sometimes you move about 10 to 15 and that's decent, but to get that much improvement for just a single portion, about 30, that's aiming pretty good. Because I'm saying 30 because the variance, if you ran the test over and over again, you'd probably get a median of about 30. I was running them hot for that back-to-back tests because I wanted to get the best portion of just through and through. So let's go ahead and look at our DirectX 12, since DirectX 11 checks out to be very good and solid for this update. But before we get into that, I wanted to get into a little bit of an article that I saw that was pretty cool. The 75% increasement, and this is, well, insanely good. At first it was supposed to be 50, and then we had AMD kind of push the market forward because they want to be the, very competitive portion of making a dent into the 4K market, which Nvidia is pretty much just the kings of. So 75, cheers, guys and gals, you keep that up. I'm definitely gonna buy your card day one, that's for sure. Or you can send it to me and I'll review it. I'll totally do that, Nvidia. If anyone watches that from here and they want to partner me, so what's up? Sponsor the channel. I like it. But anyways, as technology moves forward, let's go ahead and move forward with our test. Looking at the last old dip update, and now looking at the brand new up update, we have some pretty good improvements. As you can see, close to a clean 11,000 across the board. Not too bad. That's pretty healthy, as you can see the improvements there on the graphics score. So let's go ahead and take a look at the extreme portions. Now this one is such a normal variant inside of this. I don't really see this to be anything for as far as losing or gaining. I say this is like Switzerland, it's neutral in this test, because if you look at this one being the old one, and now we look at today's standard, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of a drop, a tiny bit, right? But that's so variable. Look, 10 is literally just by 10 in the CPU drop. So that could have just been just itself, the CPU maybe running a little hot and the inconsistency. I think if I ran that test again, I could probably get a little bit higher. So I'm going to say that that's neutral and not a loss. So as far as that, let's go ahead and look at our tensor cores because, well, there's ray tracing involved, shall we? So I wanted to throw this one out as a fun one. This is the highest I was able to push the card on liquid metal with the old update. Very interesting scores, right? As we kind of look inside of there, and it's in a bracket of pretty decent scoring. It's almost about cracking into the portion of hitting into that nice 372, almost. It just needs a little bit more. And here's the brand new update, back to thermal paste, no liquid metal, and it beats it. That's pretty good. Now, again, the dissipation of heat in this card is very interesting, and I'll get into more details with that with the breakdown I make with that video in the future. But that's why I like this update, because there's a lot of overclocking that they give to you. So if you can see, the tensor cores in the last update were, well, pretty decent, but, well, not as good as this. And then you look at this for the overroom of like the overclock, it's very easy to see that they built a very good update here. I am insanely impressed with this. I'm insanely happy with what they did the last one with this tethered with it. Now being a lot more updatable and a lot more polished. Good job, Nvidia. But M7 community, it's that time. So I'm gonna go ahead and say bye with a rhyme and say stopping on a time is always gonna be the best rhyme that I can get to you. For as far as the technology news that's going to be moving forward, we're going to be seeing some fun stuff for as far as Computex airing in, and a lot more fun stuff for us to go into with Ampere and what is beyond inside of that, which will replace the Titan series and all the other stuff. Because with Ampere is going to be going into a lot more fun stuff for replacing the regular RTX series with the 2080s no more to the 3080s, which you're going to be seeing a lot more into the advancements. So if you are new to the network and you like technology and you like things up to date, you can always hit that subscription bell. A little bit longer of an episode, but definitely a little bit bigger of an update for as far as two things: game ready and studio ready. We are ready together. So go ahead and hit that notification bell, crack it like a Liberty Bell, so you get all the tech news, notifications, and I'll see you guys and gals in the near future. And if you subscribe today, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, Dante's Inferno will come out of nowhere and slice and dice his way into, well, this world. That'd be kind of cool. Like, that was a great game. I don't know if anyone ever played that. Drop a comment down below if you did. Anyways, everyone, have a nice one. Stay classy, and I'll see you guys and gals for the next update of the 4.4.2 era.